On this episode, we talk about in-house recruiting versus remote recruiting. So I've got one in-house recruiter and one remote recruiter with us today. It may end in a fight. I don't know. We'll find out. I doubt it, actually. So Atlas All Access starts now.
From Kirkham at 0450.
Adam Collette, welcome back.
Welcome.
Where have you been?
Here, there, everywhere.
Yeah.
Just working and letting some other great people here at Atlas do some stuff with you. So
there's been some fun people in your chair. So
there has been.
We've had some good times. So then, for the first time, we welcome Kyle Herman, remote recruiter. You are in Arizona.
I am. Yep.
So let's start with just really briefly how'd you end up in Arizona in the first place?
So I moved to Arizona. It's been a little over 11 years.
Okay.
I went there just honestly for the weather. I got done with school, got sick of the snow. My last spring break, I went to visit some friends that were already out there. Came back and a blizzard happened, so I had already knew I wanted to leave. Arizona was a great time, so just gave it a try and everything worked out.
And yet somehow you ended up working for a company back in Omaha.
I did, yeah.
All right.
So,
well, hey, Omaha has a way of drawing people back.
it's about who you know.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about this. I got a couple questions here because there is and I think a lot of nurses know this, right? Either your recruiter works in an office or works from home.
Yep.
Right? And personally, I mean, I see the differences. I don't think there's a one way or the other better solution, right? I don't think one way is clearly better than the others.
Sure.
So let's talk about that. First, from a remote standpoint, give me some of how is that? How do you structure your day?
Well, so on my end, luckily, my previous life, I actually worked remote there. So the transition to, being completely remote, not having, people around you to ask questions, I was used to at least working from home and being able to, stay focused on it, not walk away and start doing stuff around the house. So, structure my day, honestly, it's when I wake up in the morning, since we're a couple hours behind, I start work roughly about 6 a.m., but I'm up at 5:30 anyways. So, it's nice to be able to roll out of bed, eat something quick, take the dog out, and then, get straight to work and start working on, whatever it is that you have planned for the day.
No commute, no traffic, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about, like you said, you don't have to worry about weather. It's just, not that you really worry about weather in Arizona anyway. Heat, maybe, I don't know, but.
We got AC, so it's not an issue.
Not a thing. So, and Adam, predominantly, you've been in the office. There was a small stretch of time where you did work remote pretty exclusively. Talk about the differences.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some advantages and disadvantages on there. The meat and potatoes of the job is the same if you're working at home or you're working in the office. I think there's two things that I can really think that kind of dominate my experience of working at home and working in the office is one, at home, I get 10 times more done when I'm at home. There is less distractions. My kids are at school, those kind of things, but there's nobody to distract you or walk by your desk. Mm-hmm. In the office, a lot of people have watched the show The Office, that's reality sometimes in offices. It's a lot of fun. We get a lot of work done in the office, but the problem with me working at home or working in the office is if I work at home a couple days, I come into the office, everybody wants to come by my desk,
catch up,
say what's up, what have you been doing, what'd you do on the weekend, on those things, and I don't get as much done. So, I would say those are kind of my advantages, disadvantages on there. Working at home, I think sometimes, and Kyle and I talk about this a lot, is sometimes you just feel disconnected from Atlas. Really, you're running your own desk inside Atlas. It's still your own desk, but as a company, you feel less involved. You don't hear the things that are going on in the office. That sometimes conference calls, you miss changes and you miss things like that. So I think that's one of the big challenges is feeling more disconnected or not feeling more a part of the company when you're remote on there.
Yeah,
True.
Definitely agree. Yeah, it's a lot of things that we do in-house, movie days or valas and things like that. It'd be awesome to be able to come back and join those activities. I know, it's not feasible for cost-wise, but those are just a lot of things that I love to have those interactions and just conversations passing by certain jobs that may be moving really, really quick. And there's a lot of times I'm trying to get an answer from maybe a client manager. It'd be easy if I could just stand up and see where they're at and go walk. So they might not have their cell phone on.
Why aren't you answering my email? Right? I mean that's legitimate.
Correct. And kind of piggyback on that is like sometimes you feed off of what's going on in the office.
Yeah.
Sometimes the energy's going, you hear people around you getting placements or getting deals or having a great conversation with a new nurse and people just feed off of that, So I think that's definitely something that you miss out when you're working remotely.
I think there's you fall into either one of the two habits, right? And then you make them work for you as best as you can, right? You don't get to hear about, hey, this guy just signed a new contract at XYZ hospital, but in that amount of time that you hear that and you go through those conversations, you've already made 10 phone calls or you return 3 text messages or whatever. So it's productive on both sides.
Yeah. Exactly.
But productive in different ways. So it's not for everybody. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I didn't know how it would go when I kind of started doing it a little bit and like I said, a lot of times people ask me like, how do you decide to stay at home and work at home or come to the office? And I really don't have a plan. But I know when I need to get a lot done or I have a ton of phone calls I need to make or a ton of follow-ups, like I stay at home and I knock them out. I get so much more done when I'm there.
Yeah. So, and I think, as much as those are differences, give me some similarities because there has to be there's some ways that they're really, really similar. I mean, besides just the day-to-day phone calls and that type of thing, right?
I think everybody has to structure their day. You can't just kind of go in it willy-nilly and try to figure out, what you're going to do. You want to make sure that you're, sticking with some sort of structure just to make sure you're accomplishing things. And, at the end of the day, you feel happy that you got the work done that you had scheduled. But as far as just the day-to-day, we have great contact even being remote with anybody that we need to get those answers from. Again, me being 2 hours behind, a lot of times I'm working till 7 or 8 o'clock my time. I don't want to be calling at 10 o'clock, but I'll shoot an email. I get emails right back. So it's
a similarity of working in the office too. I mean, you're going to do the exact same thing, right? I mean, that's a very, very similar, regardless if you're here or you're at home or whatever.
Yeah, and like I said, the meat and potatoes part of it, I have a full setup at home, a couple computer screens and my docking station and my laptop, and so my day looks no different from one or the other. It's just what seat you're sitting in and if you're wearing sweatpants or you're wearing go to work clothes. So I think that's probably the same, but really it's the similarities are just you're doing the same job. It doesn't look any different. I'm not doing less at home or I'm not doing more in the office to try to prove anything.
Sure.
It's business as usual.
Have you ever had a nurse or anyone, I guess, actually ever bring that up? Like knowing that you're a remote recruiter, right? Or that you're here at the office. Does it matter?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I don't. I've brought it up to them before, and basically explained to them the same thing before. Like our communication with in-house is it's on point. There's no issues that I run into. Maybe getting back to the time-wise, that would be the only situation. But I will get those answers immediately if it's something I can't answer myself.
You're going to have that too with being here in the Midwest, right?
I would say I always tell people, hey, I always give people my personal cell phone because my office phone is always forwarded to my cell phone because I don't know if I'm going to come in or not. I might decide not to. And people are always like, oh my God, that's so awesome. You don't ever have to go to work. And I'm like, it gets so lonely. It gets so lonely. My wife will be in and out during the day or subbing and everything. But doing, just doing daily tasks, outside of, talking on the phone to nurses and stuff, it gets super boring sometimes. And the monotony of just thinking about your next task and doing that can get super overwhelming. And you can kind of get lost in it. Like, Kyle and I talk about that a lot. Like, get out, go hike, go run, go to the gym. Get out of your seat and go do something, because it can get just being at home by yourself can be super crazy sometimes.
You can definitely get lost in it too. Your day will just fly by and you realize you haven't stood up. You haven't had those interactions that maybe would just give you a little bit of time to kind of reset yourself. So there are times that it'll be a full day of work and all of a sudden I'm looking, it's like 7 p.m. I'm like, what just happened? And I know. And that's just the thing on my own personal life, is just you got to step away for whatever time frame you need to reboot, and just it helps
clear your head, do what you got to do.
Exactly.
Right?
So
that actually was my last question: is how do you battle that? That has to be a lonely. I mean, besides talking to people on the phone, right? I mean, but they're not sitting right next to you. I can't get up and go talk to you, or I can't just lean over and yell something at Ryan like I do, right? I mean, it's just not that doesn't exist unless you talk to the dogs or cats. Or
I do.
Whatever.
Often.
See?
No doubt.
I don't have any friends, so I'm used to not talking to anybody.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, no.
None of us really like you anyway.
No, I always, I like to work out once a day, and that's kind of my monotony is typically after lunch, sometime in the afternoon of, get out of the house for an hour, run to the gym, get a workout in, and get back, and usually refreshes you and refills up your inbox of tasks to do and those things. So that's kind of my day breakup.
Mine's been a little different. I've been on an injured reserve, so no stepping away for working out, but just go for lunch, maybe go somewhere, or just at least get out of the office or out of my office and go sit and been watching a lot of reruns of Parks and Rec lately. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a lot of things I missed from the first one, and it's enjoyable the second time around.
Ron Swanson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for being here. We're so glad that you're back in Omaha for a couple days at least. That's awesome. We'll see you again here in another couple months. And Adam, as always.
Good to be back, my friend.
Back in the seat. I love it. So next week, I don't even know. We'll figure it out. See you next week.
Have a good one.